Hi everyone. Well, the WikiLeaks saga continues. AOL News, WikiLeaks Assange held without bail after surrender. Well, Julian Assange finally went to a police station in the UK, in London, and got arrested, and they're holding him without bail. What is he being charged with? Is it something in connection with WikiLeaks? It sure sounds like it. I mean, it's WikiLeaks all over the media, right? But actually it was some kind of sexual crime. According to AOL News, sex by surprise at heart of Assange criminal probe. Assange's London attorney Mark Stevens told AOL News today that Swedish prosecutors told him that Assange is wanted not for allegations of rape, as previously reported, but for something called sex by surprise, which he said involves a fine of 5,000 kroner, or about $715. Doesn't it seem a bit strange to you that Interpol would be hunting down somebody who is charged with something that's punishable only by a $715 fine? One of the women is a militant feminist, I guess you could say, and she has actually posted blog posts about how you can entrap a man, or how you can get revenge on a man with these kinds of tactics. So was this maybe just a setup? I don't know. WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange arrested in London. Assange was recently placed on Interpol's wanted list. The warrant for his arrest stems from accusations of sexual assault by two women Assange had met in Sweden during a business trip into the country. The charges of rape were initially dropped, but the case has reopened, and an appeals court has upheld the original accusations. But from these articles and others, you'll also learn that his Swiss funds have been seized. PayPal is refusing to send any donations towards WikiLeaks because they're accusing them of being involved in illegal activity, which is a bit strange. I mean, if I had a business online and I had, say, a lot of parking tickets, could I then, not receive donations through PayPal? Right, you got to look at this thing in the larger context. What's going on? The US government is trying to take control of the internet. I mean, they're not going to get rid of the internet. They still want you to shop on there and look at porn and whatever, but they don't want it to be the way it is now with a free flow of information. They want it to be really just under the control of corporate clients. But it's all going to be done in the name of safety, or it won't be done at all. So what have they done? Well, trying to prevent people from blogging and trying to impose fees and licenses. I mean, they talked about all these different things. Oh, and then recently, they started shutting down all the file sharing sites under, it's about copyright infringement, right? And just so happens to be that that's, when these cables are leaked, and it's not actually illegal to print them, and 500 sites have already mirrored what's on WikiLeaks. It's not actually illegal. This comes at a time when U.S. works to secure networks as hackers advance. The U.S. government is working on increasing their security for their computer networks, but they admit that it's like almost pointless because the hackers are always going to be one step ahead of them. And in this article, of course, they also mention WikiLeaks. The release of more than 250,000 sensitive diplomatic documents underscores the massive challenge ahead as Homeland Security labors to build protections for all of the other potentially more vulnerable U.S. agencies, right? But they say the WikiLeaks breach affected the government's classified military network and was as much a personnel gap as a technological failure. Officials believe the sensitive documents were stolen from secure Pentagon computer networks by an Army intelligence analyst who downloaded them onto a CD. Didn't say it was a hacker. Actually, it could have been somebody who works at the Pentagon and who had security clearance. Well, that's the impression that I get. So now they want to extradite Mr. Assange to Sweden. And on the news report on Exomatrix TV, they also mentioned that the U.S. is trying to come up with maybe a new law that could make what WikiLeaks is doing illegal. And I guess they couldn't charge him with it because it wasn't illegal when he did it, but then they could shut it down and shut down other websites like that. Like I said, this is part of something much, much bigger. State Department warns students against discussing WikiLeaks on Facebook, Twitter. It wasn't apparently an official letter from the State Department, but somebody from the State Department sent this letter to Columbia University School of International and Public Affairs. And they warned the students that discussing WikiLeaks on Facebook and Twitter could endanger their employment prospects. Kind of got to wonder what employment prospects, but they're saying, as in if you want to work for the government, that if you're talking about WikiLeaks, it shows that you're not able to handle sensitive information. Of course, you know, it's like talking about the news because it's all over the news, so a bit strange, just some kind of intimidation tactic. But this is a really big thing, and I have a feeling that, you know, they're just going to use this to set a new precedent. They're going to write some kind of law. And also, interesting enough, although these documents, the cables that were leaked, were sensitive and embarrassing, they, according to the US government, contained information that was really of no consequence. I would have to agree. I mean, if you go and look at them, it's anything from secret on down. But did you see any top secret? I didn't see any top secret. Top secret, that's where you get the really juicy goods. You know, the government admitting that Gulf of Tonkin incident was a false flag. You know, stuff like that, where they planned false flags. That's top secret. How come there was no top secret documents leaked? Alright, personally, I think the whole WikiLeaks thing is a total false flag. And this was arranged from the beginning. They have somebody on the inside who is intentionally leaking information to WikiLeaks. Whether WikiLeaks, you know, Julian Assange is complicit in this, I don't know. They're intentionally leaking that information. Nothing of any real consequence, but enough so that, you know, it looks bad, looks like, well, something big is leaking. Then, back in last August, they set it up so that there are these wishy-washy charges against him. And that was when they leaked the footage of the journalist being assassinated. Well, not assassinated, but being killed by the U.S. Army. And they set it up so those charges had been laid back then. And just when they released these cables, well, that's when the charges again rear their heads. And now Interpol is looking for him for something that amounts to, you know, a $715 fine. And the women who were involved probably, you know, did this on purpose. I'm speculating here, but there's a good chance. I mean, one of them, you know, writes blogs about, you know, how to do this kind of thing to people, men. So it comes at a good time. You get this whole media storm about the charges and criminal activity and hiding and the bunker in Sweden. So what would it be? What would be their excuse for writing another law? I mean, there was nothing illegal done there on WikiLeaks. So this way they can get Julian Assange and they can, you know, take his money and do all these things to him and put him somewhere and then charge him with this. We'll see how that goes. Meanwhile, they're going to write some kind of law to prevent people from distributing this kind of information on the internet in the future. And this was all set up way back. I'm sure that whoever is leaking information to them was doing it deliberately because, like I said, where's the top secret stuff? So is Julian Assange complicit in this? He's not a stupid guy. He's a geek. Geeks are smart. He must know. He must be able to see the big picture and see what they've been doing, setting him up all along. Is he going along with it on purpose? Is it just business? And he just kept doing it even though he knew what was going on? I don't know. I guess we'll find out. One thing I can tell you is I'm pretty sure that none of this is by accident. It's got false flag written all over it. Thanks for listening to me rant, and I'll see you next time.